Good every Shabbos, everyone. Shabbos Shemos, start a new Sefer. It's also today's Chaf Tevis, the yahrzeit of the Rambam, and Baruch Hashem Yerushalayim here, Gishmei Bracha, and getting ready for Yom HaGadol Yud Shvat. So a short idea that we learned today in the Sikha from the Rebbe, and also a talk that Rebbe gave on Chaf Tevis in the year Tavshin Nun Aleph, Tavshin Nun, I think it was 1990. So the Rebbe speaks about the idea of the Geulah of Mitzrayim is that the very fact that we find that there was the good before the bad, like Yaakov Avinu's best days in Mitzrayim, best years of his life were in Mitzrayim. The 17 years, like we spoke last week, the idea of Toiv was in Mitzrayim, and it was good for the Jewish people. And and the Torah testifies even in the beginning of this week's parsha that they were fruitful and multiplied with ma'od very much. And we know the idea of ma'od is hinted in the idea of great opportunities. Like it says, Yaakov was blessed ma'od, and Eretz Yisrael's toiv ha'aretz ma'od. So the idea of ma'od means really both in the hidden way and both in the revealed way. There was solid foundation for the Jewish people in Mitzrayim, and from there we go into Geulah, and that shows us that the idea of the Geulah is not just for the bad and the negative and the shibud. There's something positive here, and the positive is that we cannot go to Yetzias Mitzrayim. We can't go to Matan Torah. We can't receive the Torah, which is something that's new, like we spoke last week, that's introduced this week, unless we go through the process of Mitzrayim. Like we said many times, the idea of the seed, that for a seed to become a tree, Aboyim, Yarshish, Yaakov, that to be rooted in and to grow, Yatzis Yiparach Yisrael, to grow out the great potential of the Jewish people, there has to be the process, and the process is that the seed dissolves, goes through rikuv, it goes through rotting. It's a very uncomfortable and fearful experience for the seed, but the outcome is something great. Yored Yiradnu, we went down into Mitzrayim, but this Olay Gam Olay, we elevate, there's an elevation, and this elevation can only happen through the process. And Hashem shows us this, that when we start off with the initial good times, we start off with the initial good years, we have the Tov, and from there, yes, there's difficulties, there's challenge, there's Avodas Perach. And the choice is really also ours, what kind of Avodas Perach it is. You know, like the Alter Rebbe brings out in Torah Or, that this enslavement grows to be in a Shver Toisvis, in a hard Rambam, in understanding an halacha, a mimer of the Rebbe. A person has to be an omal, a person has to work, but the working itself, there's a choice. Is it going to be work in Torah mitzvahs, or are we going to decline in Torah mitzvahs, and then the work will become actual schlepping stones? Shevet Levi, they never gave in to the decline in the ruchnis of they never compromised on their ruchnis, therefore they never went into exile v'gashmias. But the strength that we have to take from all this is to know that there's an aliyah over here, there's a great aliyah, and the aliyah is like the Alter Rebbe brings down, and the Mittel Rebbe brings down, and Spat and Chassidus, that the Giluyim, the revelations of Mashiach, are going to be much greater than the revelations that were even with Matan Torah. And like Hashem tells Moshe, Tavdunas Alikim Aharazeh, the whole point of going through Mitzrayim, and then the Yetzias Mitzrayim is for the Matan Torah. And the whole idea of Eretz Yisrael is that in Eretz Yisrael we're going to have the Torah in Eretz Yisrael. And like today, the Rambam, whose yahrzeit is today, that he wrote the Sefer Yad Chazaka, which covered all the halachas of Torah, even that halachas that deals with Beis Bechira and laws of Tum and Tara, laws that are not really applicable to us today, because when we study the Rambam, we get ourselves familiar and get ourselves ready for the coming of Mashiach Tzidkenu. The Mashiach comes, we're not going to be like people who don't know the laws of how one's supposed to be in the times of the Beis HaMikdash. We're going to be familiar, we're going to know the laws, we're going to know how it means to build the Beis HaMikdash and what kind of participation we have to do, etc. So may it be, Kain Tiyu Lanu, that we start Shemos. And Shemos starts off already with the message of that there's going to be a Geulah. And yes, the parsha ends off with uncertainty. The Jewish people don't understand what's going on. The process seems again confusing. Moshe comes to redeem them, and then it gets worse. But we have to know this is all part of the process. Stick with the plan, and we're going to see the great tree that grows, Tzaddik Atamer Yifrach, with the Geulah Mitzvah Shlema with Mashiach Tzidkenu. May it be speedily in our time, and we experience it already this week here in Yerushalayim Kodesh. Shabbos, everyone, and meaningful Shabbos, and getting ready for Yud Shvat.